Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Gabbing with Gabby. And today I'm super excited. I even dreamt about it last night. I am interviewing the creator of PLYOGA, Stephanie Lauren. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Gabby.
Thank
How
you
are
for
you? This is so fun.
Yeah, thank you for being on here. I'm so excited because there's a lot of things that I know that you can share with everyone. So I'm super excited to do this interview today. Stephanie Lauren is the creator of PLYOGA and CASE Method. She's also an award-winning fitness and education educator, and she's a collegiate athlete. She has just got a long list of fitness experience under her belt. Yeah, and I have her on here today for lots of reasons to talk about PLYOGA, the CASE method, to talk about her experience as a collegiate athlete, and some other things that we'll get to towards the end. So, Stephanie, please tell us about how you got into fitness, if it started in college or if it started way before that. What's your history in fitness and sports?
I truly believe it was in my DNA from birth for sure. I was a competitive gymnast from the age of 7, as early as you could compete. That's when I started competing. But I was put into dance and gymnastics and all of that from 3, 4 years old. So
Mhm.
yeah, from as early as I can possibly remember, I was running all over the place with my mom and my siblings, getting dropped off at gymnastics for this many hours, and
Mhm.
just being very busy and active. But I loved every second of it. And I truly remember, um, even as a very young gymnast and just really getting into competing, I always had this like very strong passion for being super strong, like for strength and conditioning. Like I always say that I remember back being that, like, even at a high level, like the other gymnasts on the team, they loved floor or they loved vault or bars was their favorite event. And however, I had my favorite event, which was floor because there was dance and music and choreography. I loved strength and conditioning, which most of the gymnasts like dreaded. But when you're at a high level, that's a very necessary, it's like another event. It's very necessary in order to be agile and to be strong and to have the power, but also the balance and the flexibility. So it was necessary, but I had this kind of strange obsession with it from a young age, and clearly still I do. So I think
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I think it was kind of just inspired from that just being a big part of my life from such a young age.
Right, and you took it into college. So did you do gymnastics in college as well as track and field? You did both?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so gymnastics was like my world. That was like my main sport. I always did dance like 1 or 2 days a week when I could fit it in because I loved it and it was I just really enjoyed it a lot. But gymnastics was like 4 days a week for most of my life. I started track and field in middle school, so 7th grade. And as you could probably imagine, if you've watched any of my workouts or YouTube or anything, I'm a very like explosive kind of an athlete. So my events in track and field were sprints, jumps, hurdles, all the shorter sprints, and hurdles was one of my favorites. And then of course jumping. So long jump, triple jump, high jump.
Oh
And
my gosh.
so I kind of just did that honestly because I didn't know how to not be busy all the time. So like I had my sport after school. Like I had to be a part of a team. Like, and also it was ingrained in me from my parents. Like you're involved in things. I was also a good student. So like I was involved in National Honor Society and the French Honor Society and all of these things just because like that's what I was encouraged to do from my parents. And to just kind of juggle it all. And I did. And so, yeah, so I did track and field as kind of just like a thing that I was like, well, I'll probably be good at running and jumping, as a gymnast. So it was just, it
Right.
wasn't like,
Maybe I'll give it a try.
it was, yeah, it wasn't like I couldn't wait to be on a track team, but I was like, well, let me try it. So I did it in middle school. I did it through high school, growing up in New Jersey, at the Jersey Shore and still here. Um, And honestly, it's kind of a funny story. I'll make it pretty quick, but I went to college at Towson University in Maryland. And I went looking for two things. I wanted to major in elementary education, and because I wanted to be a teacher for kids, I always loved kids. And I wanted to make sure they had a gymnastics team. Those are like two top criteria, and
That was it.
not too far away from home, but I wanted to experience college life. So I found those two things at Towson, and I went there actually as a walk-on for gymnastics because they were one of the top in the entire country. So even though I was a high level gymnast, there were people way above even me, like, national champions. So I went as a walk on for gymnastics. And I ended up it fell in my lap to join the track team at Towson in the off
Oh,
season of
funny.
gymnastics. So, as you may or may not know, gymnastics in college is a winter sport. In a lot of high schools,
Mhm.
it's a fall sport for various reasons of practicing indoors, whatever. But yeah, it was a winter sport. So in spring of my freshman year, my gymnastics coach at Towson introduced me to the track coach. It was kind of like, can you use her? This is what she does, And they're like, absolutely. So I kind of like walked onto the track team and jumped for them, long jump, triple jump, hurdles, joined some of the sprint relays and ended up doing really well and ended up getting money for track, which was really kind of a
That's awesome.
coincidence.
And you also hold the record there for long jump, correct?
Yes, I still to this day, only a few years later, but I still hold the long jump record for my high school, actually, and for outdoor long jump at Towson University.
Oh my gosh. You were
Yeah.
destined to do it. That was you were just destined to do it for whatever reason. You were meant to do that as well. It just added to your bag of tricks, I think. I'm going to take a
Yeah.
little quick detour just off to the
Yes.
side of the road because I know you have two small kids. And I know that you said for growing up for you, your parents were like, this is just how you do it. You are part of something and you show up and you work hard. How is it? Do you feel like you've taken on some of those parenting things and have instilled them in your kids, or are you completely different with your kids? It's like I said, I'm going off a side
No,
tangent here.
that's a great detour. I mean, it's awesome. Yeah, so right now my kids are 8 and 4, closer to 9 and
Hmm.
5. And yeah, I'm very much the same. Like I felt like I had a really great childhood and being involved in things, especially these days, like there's just so much negativity. And I
Hmm.
always felt like the busier I were, the more productive I was. And I was able to be a straight A student and be involved in things and be a good kid, but I didn't even have time to think about getting in trouble. And just
Yeah.
being like, well, what are we going to do? Let's just and meet up with my friends on the street. And I didn't even have the opportunity to make poor choices. I mean, I'm not saying I am perfect in any way. Like partied a little bit in college, but I always was so dialed in to being a really strong athlete and being very competitive and setting those high expectations for myself that
Hmm.
that always took precedence over I'd rather party and just not succeed at anything else. So
Hmm.
I felt like I never rebelled against that. I loved every second of it. So I think it's so important. So yeah, I mean, from when my kids were 2, 3, I'm putting them in gymboree. I'm putting both of my kids are in gymnastics, my son and my daughter, and both loving it and excelling at it. And now my
Hmm.
daughter's doing jujitsu and crushing it and so fierce, trying to figure something out for my son. So I think that, yeah, being involved in whatever it is, like a musical instrument. I used to play the clarinet, just
Yeah.
being involved in stuff and also experimenting with different things. If sports wasn't for my daughter or my son, that's okay as long as I gave them the opportunity to try a lot of different things.
Yes.
And then if that wasn't
Mhm.
for them, maybe acting was for them, or maybe dancing, or maybe playing an instrument. But there's so many things out there that kids can get involved in from a young age,
Mhm.
that yeah, I feel like it's a gift for parents to really give that to their children from a young
Hmm.
age and instill that in importance.
Yeah, and you create a little bit of a community. I mean, at the high school level, my son's in high school and he's in marching band. He's a musician. And aside from the things that he does outside, but inside, it's a really tight community, not just for the kids, but for the parents too, because it's a whole community comes together and supports this this marching band, and it's good for everybody. I mean, it's a lot
Yeah.
of hard work, but you're right, you don't have enough time to think about how can I get into trouble because you're in this strict schedule of all the different things you have to do. That's really great. I'm glad
Yeah.
that I love hearing that your daughter's in martial arts. My kids have been in martial arts since they were 5.
Oh
And
yeah.
there have been many times I've sat there and watched, because you sit there when they're little and watch other young girls come in. And when they start, they're just kind of like, punching and they're quiet.
Yeah.
But man, you get
Very
2 months
timid.
in, those girls are stronger and more
It's
fierce
amazing.
than most of the boys in there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love it.
And the
And the
push-ups,
one
they're
other
like
thing,
powering up
yeah,
push-ups.
my son who's 4.5, I'm not even biased. Like he has the best push-ups. Like, and I never
Yeah.
literally showed him. Like I mean, he's seen us do this, like both my husband and
Yes.
I, but I've never been like, Cameron, here's how we do push-ups. Like there was no
Right.
tutorial like with me and my children, but as
Yeah.
parents, you have such an opportunity to just like drill it in naturally by being a role model.
Yes.
And I'm just such a big advocate of that, that like when I see him just be like, watch me do my push-ups, and his form is like dialed in top notch. I'm so proud. Like, I'm like, how is this
Yes,
little kid
you should
push-ups
be,
so amazing?
because he's watched you. I just recently, Stephanie, had this conversation with my class on Zoom. Whatever came up about my kids, I said, my kids have always seen me exercise. They've always seen me. I've always been in this garage right now where I'm doing Zoom classes, not now, but
Yeah.
but usually when I'm teaching. And they've just seen me do all kinds of videos. They've been in the gym while I'm teaching. They've been in the gym while I'm training. So they've just always seen me in that environment. And I've
That's
never
right.
forced them to do anything. I've never told them that you should do this, you need to do this, you need to do
Yeah.
that. My son now works out all the time, and he needs it. He has to do it. And my daughter, well, she's still young. She's 13, so she's still kind of like, pops in sometimes and sometimes, but I just never force it on them. But,
Yeah.
you and your husband are both, they both work out. You're both real healthy and both, conscious about moving your body, keeping your body healthy, and your kids see that and they pick it up. So you don't have to necessarily pound it into them.
Yeah.
They just see and they follow their role models.
That's
And
right.
that's very
Yeah.
cool.
One
So
one of the other things,
now,
just really quickly, that I just wanted to touch
yeah,
on with the whole activities for kids, that I think is just so critical that I didn't mention yet, is the sense of discipline. That like I didn't
yes,
even realize, you don't even realize as a kid when you're in it yourself. But then as you get older, I always say to my daughter, I'm like, the coaches that I honestly hated or disliked or gave like trouble to when I was in middle high school, whatever, new coaches that would come into the gymnastics facility, and I'd like need to build trust before I was really nice to them. Not saying that's the right thing, I was a high school teenager, but
yeah, yeah,
now I have a relationship with them now as a friend, because as you grow up, you have that sense of respect, and you realize that they were doing it because they saw the potential in you. But I just look at the discipline that you learn being in these activities where they're getting healthy and active, and there's the community and there's the team camaraderie and there's the support and just the stuff that you learn without realizing. Once you're a
mm-hmm,
parent, you realize like this is key, like my kids have to be a part of this.
mm-hmm,
So seeing my kids in gymnastics, especially as they get a little older and they're a part of the team, seeing my daughter, in jujitsu now, and the discipline that is just required, it's just expected, is amazing, because not every kid gets that unless they're in certain situations, certain activities, that's just a part of the culture. I think it's so
mm-hmm,
special and like necessary for
mm-hmm.
kids.
Yeah, it's definitely a lifelong lesson that you keep with you and you use it throughout everything that you do in your life. It's great stuff to be a part of something mentally, physically,
For
emotionally.
sure.
We all need it. We all need connection. So we're going
Yeah.
to fast forward now a little bit. You're, out of college. You do have a degree in education. Did you go into becoming a teacher, or did you use fitness and your education and kind of put them
I've been
together?
able to merge. I've been able to merge the two, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I went for education, came back to New Jersey, planned on becoming a teacher, but knew I'd always be involved in fitness, sports, coaching to some
Hmm.
degree. And I just got into the fitness culture myself personally, right? Like after sports, like
Hmm.
what do you do? So it was
Right.
fitness classes, like kickboxing, hit, boot camp, all of those kind of high energy classes for me was where I was magnetized to go towards, coming from the sports and events that I did and excelled at. And it just sparked an interest immediately. Like it was almost just a natural thing that I would have to coach or train of some degree. And so, really shortly after I came home, I started coaching track at my high school. Actually, that
Mm.
fall, I was coaching the winter and the spring track and fields. And then I also went and got my personal training certification, my group fitness cert, because hey, before you're married, you have all, in a family, you have all this time, right? So I was
You have
trying
all
to get,
this time.
yeah, so I was trying to get a teach. Plus, I didn't know anything else but like go, 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 do like a million things. That was like my just ingrained in me. So I was,
Yeah.
subbing, trying to become a teacher, and I was coaching after school, and then I would be at the gym working out slash training and starting to teach classes. So that is kind of like how that all initially started from going from like a personal experience to now flipping sides a little
Hmm.
bit and taking it into education and helping others reach their goals and have that feeling that I always had as an athlete, and a part of a team. So yeah, that's kind of where the whole journey of me being a fitness professional started. And then I don't know if you want to go ahead or you're going to then ask me. So then, how did you start Play Yoga?
Yes. And I have to say first that PLYOGA, I love PLYOGA, and my students are they a lot of them say this is fastly becoming my one of my favorites. I'm like, it's my chocolate and my peanut butter. They've come together. I love hits. I love insanity. um just a PSA, like Shanti, anytime you're ready to come on my show, it'd be amazing. I met him
Great
once
guy, right?
in San Diego. That man changed my life. And however, moving forward, it's still my favorite form of exercise. Body weight hit is my favorite form of exercise. I will take that any day over lifting weights. I don't know why. I just feel like you can push yourself, you're sweating. It takes mental fortitude. For me, it's my favorite. So when you took this and then my other favorite, which is my baby yoga, which got me into fitness to begin with,
Oh,
and
okay.
put the two together, I was like, what? So a friend of mine posted when you guys, I've got certified with you guys in March 2020 because you guys went all online,
Yeah.
and we were right at COVID. And she said, hey, Gabby, you're going to like this. I think she's taken it before. And I looked into it and I didn't even hesitate. I just immediately registered and then I
Like
met
this
you and
has
your
my
husband
name
on
written all
Zoom.
over it.
Yes. And then the two of you and your husband, doing the training together on Zoom. I'm like, I love these people. You guys are so funny together. You have a little banter back and forth a little bit. It was so great. It was so great. But anyway, it is one of my favorite formats. I do it every Wednesday morning, live via Zoom.
Awesome.
It's one of my favorites, and I won't ever take it off the list of exercises because it's great. So yeah, I would love. I already know a little bit of the story because I took the training, but let's share with everyone else how PLYOGA came to be.
Sure. Yeah. So you already know the background of where I came from as an athlete, and that's part of the big inspiration for creating Play Yoga and, really wanting to create something that would not just be a fad that would come and go. Such a
Mhm.
big part of my training, pretty much the majority of my life has been body weight training. So I didn't even really pick up a weight until college, I think, honestly. And
Oh,
it's
wow.
it's really fascinating, probably everyone watching has seen gymnasts on TV, right? And those people are some of the most ripped, muscular, strong,
Yes.
in like every aspect of fitness. It's incredible. And most of the time, they don't lift any weights. When I got to college, my gymnastics team, we did not lift weights in the weight room. It was all body weight stuff. So um,
Wow.
that's just like once you get older and you think back to that, like what you
Mhm.
can create with your physical fitness with just
Mhm.
literally what you're born with is incredible. I mean, it's such a resource that everyone needs to almost like hear a bunch of times because you don't need all the stuff, right? Like I love,
Mhm.
like I always say, don't get me wrong, I love kettlebells. I love flipping tires and pushing
Mhm.
sleds and all the crazy stuff. And there's so much cool equipment out there, but the magic like knowledge is knowing that if you don't have anything, there's still no excuse to not be an
Mhm.
active individual and to really be able to reach whatever fitness level you want to reach at whatever age.
Mhm.
Also, I'll give you that. So body weight training was just such a big part of my life and so important as a message that I wanted to get out there. And so my husband and I creating PLYOGA together in 2013 and really getting it out there into the world in 2014, it was bringing two worlds of fitness, plyometric
Mhm.
movement, right? More like explosive, fundamental movement with another discipline that most people look at and see them as opposite ends of the spectrum. But at the end of the
Yes.
day, they're both grassroots movement that have
Yes.
been around forever. Anyone can do them, really. And they can give you such amazing improvements in every area. So we created a really unique way to put the two together in this format, but also as a way to bring people from these different aspects together. Like for you, you said you loved yoga already, but you also loved high intensity HIIT. So for a lot
Mhm.
of people that have been drawn to PLYOGA over the many years of events and conferences and certifications that we've done, a lot of times they have been people that have come from the sports world. Like they came from being an athlete their whole life and they wanted nothing to do with yoga, but they were getting older and they
Right.
realized if I don't start doing some yoga, and that was me, that was me.
Yes.
Um, I'm gonna really start to get injured, or I'm gonna start to have
Mhm.
issues here or issues there. I'm gonna lose balance or flexibility, range of motion, all of that. So we were able to almost subtly and seamlessly introduce yoga and create yoga fans from people that weren't even touching yoga, like didn't even want to touch yoga with a 20-foot pole. And then even the other end too, which was pretty cool. People
Yes.
that were like, oh,
Mhm.
PLYOGA. And they'd come to a
Yeah.
master class with like no shoes on and they'd like sit in, like crisscross
Yeah.
applesauce and be like, oh, and we're like, thank you for coming, stand up and do you have some
And
sneakers? So
we're about to move.
we're about to move just a little bit faster than you may have expected.
And
But
just
yeah,
note that if you're listening and you've never taken a yoga class with me or online, Stephanie also has a YouTube channel where she's always posting yoga classes on there every day. Um, it's for all levels. You're not expected to be the highest jumper, to do full burpees, it literally is designed for anybody to do. It's so great. It's definitely an all suitable for all levels. Even with the yoga part, it's suitable for all levels. Yep.
yeah, that's a good thing to mention because some people are a little bit nervous if they have never taken a yoga class. The yoga in PLYOGA is meant to be very basic, very foundational.
Hmm.
So you're doing simple yoga poses, and they're really implemented and plugged in small, short segments for active recovery. So you're
Hmm.
elevating that heart rate through a high intensity interval training format, but we're utilizing that yoga as active recovery for a very short amount of time in a safe way, to get
Hmm.
in those little bits of yoga, but also to recover your heart rate just the amount that you need in order to then take it up again, right? So you're in
Yes.
that amazing, very effective and efficient training regimen where your heart rate's doing
Hmm.
this, but then you're also making the most use of your time, which I love, in that you're not doing,
Hmm.
20 seconds of high knees or squat jumps or burpees or whatever, and then standing around or putting your hands on your knees, just trying to catch your breath. You're
Right.
transitioning immediately into a chair pose or a tree pose, working on
Yes.
balance, and also being like, all right,
Hmm.
well, let me get my breath under control for just a short time.
Yes. And I usually tell people, because I do have a yoga teacher background, so I've taught yoga for many years now. That, let's say for instance we're going into triangle, and I just say we're not looking for a perfect triangle. I mean, just be a little more conservative, because we're just here to breathe and to feel your breath and to just take a second, because we're going to go right back into it again. So it's not meant to be perfect yoga. Like you said, it's meant to take that very short recovery and catch your breath, so that you can go right back into doing another set of whatever, the high knees or whatever, the squat jumps, whatever you were doing. I do on my class, I do extra long yoga at the end. So we take, like another 20 minutes to do yoga.
Yeah. Well,
So we just,
that's
yeah,
a beautiful part of PLYOGA, right? And I'm sure that as a yoga instructor from the get-go, you probably loved that part. But for people that are participants in a PLYOGA class, I really
hmm,
believe that that is the magic, right? Like, there's so many HIT
hmm,
programs out there, right? And HIT is awesome, right? When you're doing that interval training, it's great. You could work out for 20, 30 minutes and really get a great workout and get yourself in some good physical shape. However, a lot of people are missing that core strength, core stability, understanding how to breathe properly with movement,
hmm.
and flexibility, So, it also gives that special feel. I really believe that the
Yes.
yoga bell at the end makes people feel like, this was like, they're like
Yes.
drenched, right? And they're like feeling
Yes.
like, high on life, but they're also like, wow, that was so refreshing and rejuvenating. I want to come back again because I feel like I
Hmm.
accomplished and I don't feel defeated. And that's a very
Yeah.
fine line, that we need to watch as fitness instructors, coaches, trainers.
Right. Yeah. And the great thing too when you get to Yogaville is that that's the end of Pi Yoga. It's called Yogaville. You're coming out of this kind of chaotic, aggressive movement. You're sweating, you're breathing, and then you transition yourself to this quiet, more centered place, which is glorious. But your body is already warm. And so your body just eats up that yoga. It's like, yes, it just responds. All your muscles are ready to stretch. And it's the best time to stretch, as I tell people. You're going to stretch, you can do a few minutes of a warm up, but stretch at the end. Your body is
Yeah.
ready and wanting that stretch. That's the best time for
It's
you to
like
stretch.
dessert, right?
You
You've heard me say it
exactly.
a bunch
Yoga
of
is your
times.
yeah, exactly.
This is the
And you also
dessert
have
right
a
here, everybody.
yeah, right here. We're gonna do yoga. So your cherry on the top right here. So you also have another format, CASE method, which is an acronym, right? So I'm going to let you talk about that because I don't know too much about it. So I'm learning along with my viewers. So talk a little bit about CASE method, please.
Cool. Yeah. So, shortly after a couple of years in with, PLYOGA, we wanted to create another, hit style format, 30-minute, because that was really kind of growing that, shorter model, right? 30 minutes or even less. People want to be able to be fit, but not have to take up so much time in their day. So we wanted, a 30-minute format. But now we bring to the table some fitness equipment that is very versatile and portable. So CASE method is CASE stands for core, agility, strength, and endurance. So it's a 40-20 hit model, meaning the movements that we do in those segments are 40 seconds on, 20 seconds kind of recovery / transition before you go to the next one. And we created and branded what we call our functional fitness kit, that people can get involved in, whether it's individual or someone that has a small group personal training business, or even a gym or a fitness studio that wants to bring in Case Method, and bring in the kits, because they can be used for so many different things. But the kit includes 6 different pieces of equipment that are utilized during the different components of Case Method. Sometimes you use all of them. Sometimes you could highlight 1 or 2 as the instructor. But they are a 3-pound weighted ball. They are gliding discs. You have balance pods, like mini BOSUs, I like to call them. I love them. You have a leg band. Everyone knows the leg band. You have the resistance
Everybody knows
tubing.
those.
Yep, you have the resistance tubing with the handles for that strength part, and then a foam roller. That's a smaller foam roller for that really awesome recovery cool down at the end, because I'm a big proponent of cooling down and stretching properly. So that's pretty much how Case Method works. And as a fitness instructor, you can actually go on one of our websites and find the outline and learn how to teach it. We don't have actually a certification behind that, but we do have the kits that people can get involved with to go along with Case Method.
Okay, that's cool. All right, well, we're going to put all those descriptions below. One more thing that we're going to touch on, and Stephanie and I have talked about this kind of off screen. It's just this little misnomer that goes around about diet and being an athlete, and how you basically need to be a meat eater if you're going to gain any muscle. And that's just simply not true. Yes, thank you for showing your muscles. I didn't want to ask you and put you on the spot, but I'm glad you did it on your own.
Give a little taste.
Stephanie's 100% vegan, and she looks amazing. And
maybe
if you've
like
ever watched,
95%. There's some things I have here or there, but
yes. But for the most part, you're vegan most of the time. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, 95% is still a lot. I mean, even in that 5%, if you ate a piece of chicken that one time, once a month, it still wouldn't be enough under the guidelines of what you have to be eating in order to build muscle. So
yeah,
I wanted
I don't
to
do
just
chicken.
touch
It's
quickly.
like occasional eggs or honey,
Okay.
those kinds of things. Yeah,
Right.
no animal
Those kinds of
products in
things.
that, like meat or poultry in that way. Well, I guess
No flesh.
sure
No
is.
flesh.
Yeah, flesh. Yeah,
Flesh.
no
We'll
flesh.
just call it flesh. Yeah. So, how long have you been a vegan?
So it's been, you know what, I always honestly try to remember like exactly when it all happened. We've been vegetarian now for several years, like probably 4 years, my husband and I, and my kids. So my son was really little. He really didn't have any meat at all. He's maybe tried that chicken a couple times from like other people's houses. But yeah, we've been vegetarian for a long time. And then there were, just over time of me just being I've always been very interested in nutrition and food as medicine, and kind of the holistic preventative approach to wellness is a big part of our family and our life. And so I just started learning more and more and more and more and more about different things like dairy and gluten and just like the high inflammatory foods. And there were the couple things that I was still having, like cheese and yogurt and ice cream. I would say those were like the top ones that after watching a few things, you start to realize that like you can do away with it and be okay. So I would say cheese was the hardest and the last thing that I had really like officially given up, but it's probably been 2 years at this point that I've been, I like to more say I follow a plant-based diet, or we do in our household. But yeah, it's been about 2 years.
Okay. Now, and you guys have all just heard her history. She's a collegiate athlete, track and field, gymnast. Now she's in the fitness world. I'll be sharing her videos, and if you've ever seen her videos, There's no slowing down with Stephanie. She still gives 110%. Did you find that as you were transitioning, did you find that it affected your performance in any way, shape, or form in a negative way?
Oh, negative way, definitely not. No,
Yes.
I never felt that I like lost energy at all. Um, I honestly can't say that I felt a dramatic difference in how I performed positively from changing from, you know, eating poultry, because I was never really a meat eater, but like eating
Mhm.
poultry, like chicken, turkey, then going vegetarian, and then going pretty much vegan. So I just want to be like transparent in that way. However, I felt better about what I knew and what I was putting in my body and then my kid's body, and teaching
Yep.
others how more about just the magic of like literally the foods that come from nature and what they
Mhm.
do for our, so much that goes on in our body, and like really helping people understand, once again, like fitness with your body. It's like so many of the things that we really need to thrive are right in front of
Mhm.
us. I mean,
Mhm.
farmers markets and getting, so many foods that you don't even need to worry about the ingredient label because there is none. I mean, look behind me. This is
Right.
literally our kitchen.
Yes.
But this is like what we're so, passionate about. So it was like doing the right thing for my family, for my body,
Yes.
for the environment, for animals, kind of like the whole gamut in that
Yep.
way. So, um, we're all healthy, and I don't know the last time I had to go to the doctor or my kids had to go to the doctor or be on any sort
Mhm.
of medicine. So I feel like we're proof that it's a great lifestyle. Not to
It's a
say that
great
it's
diet.
exactly what everybody needs to do, because everyone's bodies are different. However, everyone, unless you have a serious food allergy, everyone can thrive from eating a plant-rich diet, and I'm a huge advocate
Mhm.
of that for sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm getting at. Everybody, to each his own for everyone. Some people, they're just not interested in it, or it's just not for them. And there are other ways, and they are still effective in your performance, in you, being healthy and building muscles. So, what are some of the top questions that people will ask you when they find out that you're vegetarian or vegan?
What the heck do you eat?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been quite a while now, so people aren't asking us much that anymore, right? In our like kind of knit circle,
Yes.
family, close
Yeah.
friends. But that's like the biggest one is, and I have to tell you, honestly, even before we became like officially vegetarian and then pretty much officially, plant-based, was what what kinds of different dinners, so we're not always eating. So I mean, I understand it and I can almost relate, because people do, when you eat a certain way, like your meat is here on your plate, your starch is here, and your vegetables are here.
Yes.
Like now,
It's
that's like our plates don't look like that at all. Usually we have a bowl and it's like a lentil stew with a ton of vegetables and
yeah,
lentils and a coconut curry sauce or something,
right.
or it's, maybe this main dish and then like sweet potato fries, or, so you really just learn to expand what you eat and how you make things. And there are so many, I mean, we don't eat the same dinner barely ever, and you learn ways to replace those unhealthy foods that you
Mhm.
love so much, because I also am a big advocate of it being a lifestyle and never feeling like you're depriving yourself. I coach people
Mhm.
in that, and we have a program where we really work on transforming people over a long period of time, mindset, fitness, nutrition, called Find Your Inner Athlete.
Mhm.
However, it's really has to be a process. It's like learning a new language, and that's
Mhm.
really an important way to properly do it. If you just want to, if you're listening and you just want to be a little bit healthier, or you want to maybe try to be vegetarian or try to eat more plant-based, um, it's just finding healthy alternatives to an unhealthy meal that you can't even see yourself giving up, like spaghetti and meatballs.
Mhm.
Just for an
Mhm.
example, like we buy all pasta and I mean, we could go on and on about this and I won't, but just pastas alone, I don't never buy gluten pasta. Like I don't wheat
Yeah.
or any kind of white or wheat pasta. It's all based in lentils
Mhm.
or chickpeas or black beans. And
Mhm.
so there's your protein, there's your legumes. That's so much fiber. That's so good for your gut. And then we throw a
Mhm.
bunch of vegetables in there. I make meatballs out of eggplant and walnuts and beans, and those are so delicious and they're baked in the oven. So you really find ways to make the delicious meals that you're used to and that you love and your family loves.
Yeah, you have to think outside of the box.
Yeah.
And it's difficult if you've never done it, you have to take baby steps. You can't just all of a sudden, eat one way and then turn around and go, "That's it. I'm going to be vegetarian or
Yeah.
vegan." Well, vegan's a lot more of a drastic change. But even switching to being a vegetarian, everything becomes cheese based then, and you're trying to get rid of the cheese, right? So yeah, so it
Yeah.
is possible. You just mentioned you still get lots of protein, lots of fiber, lots of good things to build your muscle to keep your body healthy. So it is possible, and I'm glad that we had this little time to share that bit of information, because there are so many people that I come across and talk to, and they're like, they just don't get it,
Yeah.
And I'm not vegetarian or vegan, and I also know that it's possible to still have a really wide variety of foods available to you, and you're still able to build muscle, have endurance, have, just be overall healthy. And
Yeah.
so thank you for sharing that part. How can people get a
Absolutely.
hold of you, Stephanie, and
So there's a
find
couple
PLYOGA
different
and
ways.
CASE?
Of course, we're on Facebook, Stephanie Lauren Athletics, also Ply Yoga Fitness. So we have those two business pages. On Instagram, it's at Ply Yoga Guru. That's my personal page. I have a really great free fitness community group on Facebook that
Hmm.
I'm always sharing different health, wellness, nutrition, workouts, and it's called Slay Fit for Real. So I'm sure you're going to be putting it in like the show notes or something, right?
Yes.
So anyone
Hmm.
that's watching that wants more resources from someone that lives in it,
Hmm.
it is Slay Fit for Real. That's a great group. And then of course YouTube, Stephanie Lauren. Um, and we have a couple different main websites where you can find out more if you're looking to get into an education side of fitness where you might want to do the PLYOGA certification, or if you're in the school environment and you're looking for a great professional development for your classroom or your PE teachers. And then we have our Find Your Inner Athlete program, which is either individual based or curriculum based in schools for ultimate like transformation over a longer period of time. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways, but the main ones you can find us as Facebook, Instagram, and our websites.
Great. And we'll put all those contacts information in the description below. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I'm so glad that we finally got to talk, and
I
I probably could
know,
have talked for a lot longer, but life has
of
to go
course.
on in both of our households. So I
That's right.
appreciate
We
you
could
being
always do it
on.
again, I'm sure, right?
We can do a part two, that's for sure. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much for being on here, sharing your stories, sharing all your great tips, and we'll see you guys next time on Gabbing with Gabby. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.